Check, 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 check. That's better. I don't feel like I'm screaming.
I'm going to go ahead and... Wow, man, I am... This thing is cooking over here. Jeez. There we go. Okay, can you talk into yours?
Check 1 2. Check, check, check. Mic check. 1 2 2.
Keep going.
2 3 3 3. Check 1. Mic check.
Okay.
Check.
You're good. Now let's see. We're both on... Okay, that's what's going on. We're both on 1 over here. All right. So I'm not going to start just yet, but I am going to go live. So it gives me time to share this.
All right, yeah, I'll talk to you though. I'm here already, so I'll talk to you. All right, man, sounds good. So, meeting with Callie yesterday, not good.
I thought it was okay. Probably shouldn't say too much because we're actually live right now. So
I guys get electrocuted.
let's avoid that, if at all possible.
Possible. If it's not, I'll be the guy.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, William? What's up, Joe? We're going to get rolling here in just a second.
Are William and Joe friends of yours? Or just random guys that are up at 9 o'clock?
Joe is. William is a guy I've kind of talked to off and on, mostly about like belt stuff and
I was gonna say it's amazing
belt collecting, and
they're up this early just to listen to this fine presentation.
that's just it because it is a fine presentation.
Dedication.
But you also got to think a lot of people have to actually wake up at 5, 6 a.m. and
Do show prep.
no, I just mean for their normal jobs.
Oh, I thought you meant how we wake up at 5 a.m. to do show prep before these
4:30.
4:30, 5. Small details.
All about semantics here. Again, if you're
Made
on the stream with us, thanks for joining us. We're going to start in about 2 or 3 minutes. Those of you that do join us ahead of time, you get to get a sneak peek at what happens behind the scenes, so to speak, even though it's not really behind the scenes.
If I fall asleep, it's not on purpose.
We take power naps here. Can you guys give me a sound check in your mics real quick?
Hi, Alex.
You're good.
Check 1, 2.
I think we're good. Need to fix this microphone. It keeps wanting to get away from me. Good enough. For everyone on the stream, thanks again for joining us. We're going to get started in about another minute. All right. I think we're good. Let's get started.
Let's do this.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us at our new day and time. I'm Alex. Cole is here. T.O. is here. We all are here. Guys, what is happening?
Oh, same old, ready to talk about all that we have planned today.
All that we have planned is if we've got a huge lineup of stuff. We're just going to talk about what happened last night, talk about Royal Rumble, predictions, spoilers, pull a Paul Heyman perhaps, but that's pretty much all we're going to talk about. I have no idea how long this show is going to be. We might be done in 30 minutes. This might take 2 hours. Who knows? But all right. So last night. First off, did you guys watch?
I did.
Did you watch both?
Yes.
What do you think? Just overall, we'll start there. What do you think overall in terms of both shows? Because I've got some thoughts, but I'll wait to see what you guys. I'll get your inputs first.
Oh man, AEW had a lot. I mean, you knew they were going to have a show since it was on the Jericho cruise, but they just had a lot go on last night. We've already talked about this. The sound was a huge problem last night.
How can they not figure it out? This has been 3 months, 4 months.
Right. So here's my perspective on that. How do you not figure it out whenever it was pre-recorded?
And they had 2 different tapes flown to Atlanta.
Two different tapes were flown on 2 separate planes. They went above and beyond to make sure that the program didn't, for whatever reason, fall into the wrong hands or.
And here's my thing. Like, I am biased against AEW because I think they've made tons of mistakes. Like, I just don't understand some of the things they've done. You're on Turner. You're not on. I get it if it's Impact.
I get it. You're not on Pop TV. You're on a.
It's a huge network. How are they okay with it?
You're on a first-rate network, and it's just. And I'll preface by saying that I'm I pull for AEW. I hope they do well.
I do too.
For the sake of competition.
Yeah,
but it's like
I agree.
I agree, 100% agree. How do you not figure out the sound issues, especially when it was a pre-recorded show? I mean, and I don't know the ins and outs of audio engineering and all that stuff, but
do they not have someone? Do they? I mean, because I know all their executive producers are wrestlers, and whatever Brandy's title is, like, did they not actually hire real qualified people to do some of these jobs?
my guess
I've
is
heard Tony
probably
Khan's
not.
in the truck. I've heard he's in the truck doing some of the stuff.
Well, and
And can we call him Mini Vince? That
Oh,
just
for
sounds
sure.
like fun, Mini Vince.
for sure. I mean, but at the same time, though, I get that mentality of, if you want to do something done right, do it yourself. But at the same time, he can't do everything. Vince can't do everything. And I agree that they need to do something when it comes to their sound engineering, whatever goes on behind the scenes that is creating these sound issues on the network. Now, I will say last night was better than in previous weeks, but they should have had a flawless show in terms of the sound issues because it was pre-recorded. It was recorded ahead of time. The tapes were sent to TNT Studios or Turner Studios or whatever in Atlanta. They should have had time to figure out whatever the issues were, even if you have to overdub crowd noise or whatever to fix, the cutting in and out that happened. What happened 4 or 5 times at least?
I mean, it's almost like wind.
Yeah, that was part of it, but I mean, there's nothing you can do about the wind. But what I'm talking about is, so I watched it through. I have a streaming service through Sling TV, so I don't know if it was different for anyone else, but the sound issues I had were it would do something like this, and I'm just going to kind of replicate it. But I would be, and then it faded in and out like that,
Mine did
like
too,
like
yeah.
little 1 or 2 second blips that it would just.
It's different stuff every week too,
Right.
It's
not this exactly. That's the other thing I was going to say. It's not the same sound issues. It's like a different thing week by week. Now, that being said, again, I watched all of AEW. I watched most of NXT, and I will actually say, in terms of the in-ring product, I thought that, and this is just me. You guys tell me what you think. I thought that AEW actually outperformed NXT this week.
I thought the show was great as far as who was on the card and what happened. Again, like I felt like that was more. They knew they had to go all out because it was the Jericho Cruise, and it was.
Well, I think they also had to do it knowing it was taped. I mean, you have to put good stuff out there, or people are going to watch something live over something recorded when the results are out there.
Right.
Now, one thing you have to factor in though, so in the past, whenever wrestling was pre-recorded, they could just go back and reshoot something if they messed it up. From what I've seen, they didn't do any of that, so it would have essentially.
Did you think that at first though, when you heard there was 2 tapes, they had two different versions of the show, to where they could have ruined spoilers if they were out there?
No, just because I've seen a couple things online where people said that
I'm not an idiot, Tim.
No, just people said that they did everything in one take. It was essentially may as well have been done live because they didn't go back and reshoot anything.
Why didn't they do it live? No,
it
looked dark anyway.
I don't really know because they're wanting to do another episode of Dynamite whenever they do his cruise next year, and they've already came out and said, well, we want to do it live next time. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the mentality of that was. I don't know if it would have conflicted with scheduling of events they had on the cruise. So I don't know. I know that Jericho had his cruise all planned and whatnot before they even said, hey, we're going to do an episode of Dynamite on here. So that could have been part of it. I'm not sure. Now, all that being said, Cole, you said that, they had to go all out because it was a recorded episode. So let's just start right off the top. We'll talk about the tag team match. And I said on Tuesday, do you think they'll pull a swerve and put the belts on Omega and Page? I was bringing that up more as being a devil's advocate of sorts, but I didn't think they were actually going to do it. So whenever it happened, I'm just like, wow, they actually did it. Now I'll say I'll say ahead of time, I was kind of upset, and I told you this before we went on air, that I saw a spoiler that someone revealed through Facebook, and I should have known better than to read Facebook whenever, a pre-recorded wrestling event is being produced. But so I knew ahead of time it was going to happen, but still the match itself I thought was very good. I mean, they had a lot of the teasing of the near falls. The match itself I thought was good. So your thoughts?
I think it's all part of a bigger picture. Obviously, if you
Agreed.
continued to watch, there was a promo shot. Well, first at the end of the match, the Young Bucks come out. They're trying to celebrate. Adam Page is kind of like, what are you doing out here? He doesn't even celebrate with Kenny. He goes to the crowd and gets crowd surfed over to the ramp while drinking people's beers.
Which the crowd surfing thing I thought was kind of a nice touch. I mean, I don't know. Do you go to that part of the crowd and say, hey, after the match is over, we're going to send Hangman Page your way? Just crowd carry him?
It looked spontaneous. It
did.
Looked like he was like, hey, lift me up and take me that way. And
I think with it being the cruise, there's probably waivers signed by everybody on there, so there's a little bit more freedom of doing that than in a stadium. The week before,
which
it
is
looked
true.
like Plants.
Yeah,
that he got the beer from.
Right.
It looked like it was a Plant situation.
This one looked like he was just grabbing people's beers and drinking them. I mean, so like that was a good setup. But then they shoot the promo later on, and every time Page goes to talk, he gets interrupted. They were more focused about talking about Kenny than they were him, and I think they're kind of going with like a jealousy angle with him versus the rest of the being the elite squad and all that stuff. So I think it's a setup for him to kind of turn on Kenny when they lose the belts, which will probably be sooner than later.
Yeah, my only thing with putting the belts on Kenny and Page is that I feel like they're going to hotshot him just for the storyline, which, okay, but I'm not a fan of them doing it when it was their first title change in their company's history. And, granted, they've not been around for that long, but at the same time, I'm not sure I agree with that booking decision. And, if you're gonna pull a situation where, again, you're gonna hotshot the belts and put them back on SCU or put them on somebody else, then do it whenever it's maybe your company's already had a few title changes. So I don't know, but again, the match itself I thought was good. A lot of cool spots, a lot of the near falls. The one thing I liked about the show in its entirety is that it felt like a mix of like old school WCW blended with Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Like it had that, and for those of you that maybe have not watched any PWG stuff, it's just like it's a very intimate setting where the crowd is like a foot from the ring.
Right.
So that unique feel I thought was kind of cool. But again, back to the match itself, in terms of the result, it was what it was. The match itself was good. I'm kind of surprised they had it go on first if they knew they were going to put the belts on Kenny and Page. But again, I guess you got to start off with a bang. So
it's starting off the new year. You talked last week about the rankings or the records.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to slowly get away from that. I think it's something that they reset them at the beginning of the year. They're still showing it. I don't feel like there's a huge emphasis on it. They're not. Title shots aren't being dictated by your ranking. Mm-hmm. So I think that
they act as if it is, though. They keep saying like, "Oh, he's ranked number one."
Well, no, that's his point. It's just like they're.
Yeah. So again, if you're going by the rankings and the records, how do you create storylines? Your storylines don't go organic unless you build up an undefeated record or there's just a lot of things I feel like they have to work out, and I feel like that was one of the things that they were trying to address was, them coming out and saying at the end of 2019, records reset in 2020. Well, does that mean that you have a year-long season? Because they really didn't address that. So, are they setting that up to where you have your big show like a Wrestle Kingdom at the end of the year? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things they need to work out, and a lot of the things they came up with that were unique, good ideas, new ideas, and then they haven't really done much on it. They talk about it being, their big thing was equality, all inclusive. We're going to be the most, what was the word? The most, not accepted, but the most diverse program on wrestling. NXT is way more diverse. Other than the Japanese girls, Omega's projects.
Yeah.
That's really so again, that's just WWE trolling them. That's just oh really? Okay, well we have more money than we know what to do with. We'll sign whoever and we'll put a more diverse show on than you. But
right.
I don't know. Well, I almost felt like last night wasn't even an AEW show. I felt like it was kind of disconnected with it being the cruise, and it looked like it was more Jericho's show than an AEW show.
Most definitely.
Well,
and I'm curious to see how much he actually had influence on, with it being his cruise. Like, was it?
Well, what about the article you sent me yesterday?
Yeah, so we'll get to that. Cole, you can finish your thought.
Go ahead.
Well, that's my like. Even if you notice, the whole crowd singing Jericho, like he was the face last night. You know what I mean? Like, he plays the heel, but last night he was a face.
Oh, for sure.
The whole crowd singing the song. He's got his hand up, like, sing it to me. You know, like, he was the face. So I'm just curious to know, like, how much, not that he already doesn't probably have a whole lot of influence, because he probably has a ton of influence to begin with. But I would venture to say he probably had the reins of the show in general for that event.
Yeah, I would 100% agree on that.
And I'll get to that match here in just a second. But T.O., to your point, as far as the rankings, I agree. They need to do something to where either if you're going to have the rankings, actually follow them in terms of, hey, whoever's number one, they get the next title shot, not just, hot-shotting a storyline or hot-shotting the belts on someone just to further a storyline, or just do away with the rankings entirely. Part of the confusion is also the fact that they said they're going to reset the rankings at the beginning of the year, but yet whenever these guys come out and they has their name across the bottom of the screen with the little banner thing or whatever, they're still accumulating their rankings back from when they started. Yep. And I noticed that last night whenever they had the MJF Joey Janela match, because I'm just like, whatever Joey Janela's record was, I'm just like, there's no way he's wrestled 16 matches in 2020. Like, it's just physically impossible. So I don't know where they're going with that as far as saying that they're resetting them, if they're doing it just for the weekly release, if they're still sharing the accumulation on the bottom of their screen. I don't feel like they've been very clear about that.
I don't think Joey has even fought. So if you notice, the ones who haven't fought in 2020, it has AEW career there. It says AEW career, and it has their career record in AEW. The ones who have fought in 2020, it shows both. It shows
what their
2020's record, and then it shows their AEW career. It's always spotty. Like, if they're a tag team, it shows their tag team career, and then it shows their record here or there. Like,
well, and it'll show like the trios record, and it's like
right.
There needs to be some kind of consistency there across the board with these rankings.
Well, a tag team match, it was Cody and Dustin. They came out. It showed their tag team record, which was 0-1 or 1-0. Then it showed Cody's singles record, and then not Dustin's. So it's just like, why? I don't know.
But so the 6-man tag match. It was Jericho's entrance was really cool, and he kind of touched on it, is the fact that they were singing his theme song even when it cut off, and it just stuff like that happens organically at an event. That's you just can't recreate that. Like, while we were watching last night, my wife was like, she's like, what are the top 3 reasons you watch wrestling? And at the time I told her, it's like, I don't really know. And then that's whenever you go to any event, whether it's wrestling, a concert, a sporting event, whatever. It's stuff like that that happens organically that, in addition to the actual product, that makes you want to attend live events like that. Because I'm sure, as cool as it came across on TV, even being there in person was probably 10 times better.
Right.
So as far as the match itself, I thought the 6-man tag was even better than the tag match myself. I thought that the spots at the end where Jericho was doing his shtick with Marco's stunt, and the fact that it actually looked like at first that Marco's stunt got a 3 count on him, but it was just the way that Aubrey, the referee for that match, came down. Whenever she came down to her hand, that wasn't actually the 1 count, but the people in the crowd thought it was. So there's just kind of some awkwardness there. Besides that, though, I don't want to say it was a standard match, because I thought that it was a well-produced and thought-out match in terms of, you had Jungle Boy and Jericho start out the match. It had its normal spots with, why do I always forget their names? Ortiz and Santana. And I thought they ended it the right way with Jericho getting the pin on Marco Stunt. But what do you guys think?
Well, first, I don't know if you guys noticed this last night. The wind was a huge problem with the pyrotechnics too. I noticed everyone that was coming out was like trying to cover their eyes because the smoke and all that was hitting them right in the face. And I think I was trying to read his lips. If you watched before the match, it looks like Jungle Boy got burned on like the side of his like rib cage, because he kept like holding it and he kept like rubbing it and he kept trying to tell his guy. I think he was saying like that burned me or something, like something hit me, and I think it was bothering him at first. So like that just kind of caught my eye from the get go. Even like Marco Stunt, he was kind of like playing on it. He was like trying to find the gauntlet to go when all that smoke and all that stuff's going.
Well, I think they did that because, and I forgot where I read it, but supposedly, one of the guys in the first match with their like whatever pyro or smoke that was going off, supposedly the wind blew a lot of the smoke into, I want to say it was, I honestly don't remember if it was Kazarian or it was one of the 4 guys, but smoke got blown into their eyes, and you could see throughout the match and I don't know why, I don't remember who it was, but you could see that like they're messing with their eyes throughout the match. It might have been Kenny, because I noticed at the end of the match, like he was doing this thing with his eyes, and I don't know if that was just playing, selling the match or whatever,
Right.
But so that was probably Marco's reason for doing that, and just to kind of play it off. But at the same time, I agree. I think the wind was a big deal. I think you could have probably just left the pyro out for
the one show.
Yeah.
Other than that, the match was good, I thought.
I mean, yeah, it's just one of those things where we're so used to those kind of matches with Santana and Ortiz and, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, as far as like the theatrics and the aerial stuff. So there's not a whole lot of specific stuff to talk about. I just thought it was a good match.
Do you agree he's going to be a star, though? He's the most likely. Luchasaurus is the most likely guy that's going to be built up from there that wasn't. I mean, that came from the independents.
Like their version of Daniel Bryan, essentially.
Yeah, organically, and he's going to be. He has the look. He's one of the only guys I have that looks like a wrestler that we know as a kid.
Yeah.
That looks the part, that you're casual, because that's going to be the key as this goes out, is AEW gaining casual fans.
Mm-hmm.
And, the ones that quit watching wrestling in the early 2000s, late 90s, have an idea of what a wrestler looks like. So when they're flipping through the stations and they see some of these guys, they're like, oh, this, maybe this isn't this or this, that, blah, blah, blah. You see that guy, it's like, oh, shit, he looks like a real wrestler. I mean, he looks like what I remember a wrestler being. He's big.
Yeah.
He's very articulate. He cuts a decent promo. Like, I think he's one guy that's believable, that has a lot of, like, a big future and a lot of promise.
He's got the tools. Like, the tools are there. He can talk on the microphone. He's got the build. He's got great ring skills, whether it's...
Is he Ivy League educated? Like, didn't he go to a really prestigious university, I want to say?
Let's see what
he made a joke about it, actually, in a promo.
Let's see what the Google machine says.
Do you guys think he does that with his Luchasaurus character, or do you think he has to be repackaged to be a singles?
Yeah, he went to California State University.
I think if you go to repackage him, it's not gonna have the same feel as, that organic, like what they're doing with Daniel Bryan. If you repackage him, unless they do the thing where, they did the thing with Kane a few years ago and they unmasked him. If they do something like that, then maybe, because I guess you could still technically be Luchasaurus without the mask. It might be a little more awkward because he doesn't have the dinosaur mask, but I don't know. I think they could go a few different ways with it, but ultimately if they push him, I think they just need to do what they're doing and do it slowly.
He has a master's degree in medieval literature.
That's very specific.
Right. It's like what makes you want to go into that specific niche of history?
When you're a dinosaur.
Yeah.
It sounds like my in college I had a class that was like history of China from 1620 something to 17 whatever. It's like,
and you have a master's in just that. Like he has like he literally could go teach just medieval literature. Like that's it. Like I don't know much about regular literature, but medieval, I got you.
He was also on Big Brother. I did not know that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. How about that?
All right. So, what else was on the card? So you had MJF and
Joey
Janela. I mean, kind of a ho-hum match. It was what it was. They ultimately just pushed the end of it whenever MJF had his little schmoz with Cody. Cody came out, did his thing on the mic.
And they threw him in the pool.
Yeah.
And the crowd chanted, he can't swim.
Which was WCW-esque because they had their shows at Panama City Beach and whatever. There's a fourth match I'm forgetting. Oh, it was the
there's Jon Moxley versus Pac.
Well, I was going to go back to the women's match, which honestly, I said I watched all of AEW. I actually didn't watch that match because I had to get my kids to bed.
It was pretty much just a Britt Baker like full on heel turn.
That's what I heard.
For sure, heel turn. Like,
and then she was ripping on Shivani post match interview.
It was a terrible way to do it though, because here's what happens.
Referring to him as a barista at Starbucks, I was confused.
Well, there must be an inside joke there that I didn't understand.
So after he worked at WCW, he worked at Starbucks as a barista for like a year and a half. Like before he went to doing
before
radio.
he started working for Georgia, like doing, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
just for the hell of it, or because he needed a job.
Just because it was like I've read that he didn't necessarily like need the money or anything. It was just something he wanted to do, and he's always had a good work ethic. There it is. So he just decided, hey, let's go work at Starbucks because I want to.
That whole promo just it fades to commercial. Like it literally was like really poorly put together. She's just in the ring getting interviewed. She calls him a barista twice pretty much.
Yeah.
And then she just keeps ripping into him, and JR's like, all right, well, we're going to go to break now. And then like it fades off, and like that's the end of it. Like I didn't understand that, why it ended that way. Like what was the purpose of just going to commercial and tuning her out pretty much?
It was a very, because I've gone back and watched the post-match promo. It just felt very awkward because she made that dig at him with the Starbucks thing, but then after that it was just like she hit a brick wall or something.
Can I ask, who do you think wrote that segment? Who do you think produced that segment?
Sorry.
That's where when I'm watching the show now, I'm like, that's the one thing I try to is like, all right, who wrote this? Who's steering this storyline, this angle, this, and it's, I don't know.
Was it her?
I don't know.
What?
I mean, Omega's supposed to be the guy that's in charge of the female talent. Like that's what everything you read. I don't know if that's true.
So I think
does she have creative control?
I think it's one of two things. Either someone said just go out there and cut a post match promo, do a heel turn thing or whatever, and it wasn't planned and she fell flat, or they scripted a promo for her and then she just forgot it. because after the Starbucks bit with Shivani, it was like it fell flat. It was not working. It was literally like she hit a brick wall. And JR even had an awkward like, okay, well, we've heard enough. We're just gonna go to a commercial, and then they went to a commercial.
Yeah, like I said, it was almost as if they had planned something completely different and it didn't pan out, so they just pretty much cut it. Like they tried to cut away from it.
Yeah.
But it was bad. That was the only part of the show I was like, okay, what's going on there?
And then we had Pac and Moxley. I don't know. In my opinion, it was kind of another ho-hum kind of match. I mean, you kind of expected Moxley was going to win, which he did. And I don't know. I mean,
it was the match that you expected Pac and Moxley to put on. Like it was just the same kind of match like that. I watched it and I was just kind of like, okay, I could see that happening. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like. Nothing was like, oh my goodness, like that caught me off guard, or like that was crazy, that was insane. It was all just kind of like, okay, yep, I expected that.
So overall, I mean, I still think that in-ring was better for AEW this week, not by much, but so switching to NXT, again, I only watched some of this, so I can't speak to all of it, but what I did watch, I was actually kind of disappointed with. And maybe NXT has just set the bar so high on a weekly basis that even when it might be a good show, it's still disappointing. So I admittedly didn't catch like the first 30 or 40 minutes of it. So what went on first?
Let me recall
The
back.
tag team match.
That was the Dusty Rhodes Classic versus
Undisputed Era.
Undisputed Era versus the UK team, the
Young grizzled veterans.
Yeah, Zach Gibson and and pretty much Imperium comes out and kind of they're in the balcony, that balcony spot that everyone stands in, and they're just doing their little pose, and it distracted them enough to get pinned by the young grizzled veterans.
So match itself, was it any good? Was it?
It was your typical Undisputed Era was kind of dominating the match in a sense, in my opinion, and you just felt like
they didn't look weak and losing.
Right, like it looked as if we were for sure going to get Undisputed Era in the finals, like everyone thought. And we actually thought it was leading up to an Undisputed Era versus Imperium for the Dusty Rhodes Classic with the whole feud. And they kind of 180 us and had them both lose so they can have a whole separate match.
What do you guys think about them keeping it the Dusty Rhodes Classic?
I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, be more specific.
Like with Cody.
Well, with Cody, this time last year,
Dusty
it wasn't
never really
really
left.
Yeah, so it's just kind of funny though that they won't release the last name. They won't. He still has to go by Cody. He can't go by. I don't know where that stands.
Well, what's really weird is that Cody can't use his last name, but Dustin can. So it's like, what's the difference?
And when they come together, they can be called the Rhodes Brothers.
Yeah.
I noticed like there's weird ways that they can and can't say it.
Well, yeah, because my point would be is that Dustin didn't go by Dustin Rhodes hardly ever in WWE. He always went by Goldust.
Yeah, but
so they probably own Goldust and they don't own Dustin Rhodes.
Well, which is true. I get that mentality of it, but anyone that's watched wrestling long enough knows that they're brothers. Dusty is their father. Why?
Why not just go by Runnels? I mean, like
just to be difficult. I mean, literally. Just to be
I know.
difficult.
I know. It was a rhetorical question. I know they're just trying to flex their copyright
I
trademark muscle, but
I was just thrown off because I would have almost rather have seen Imperium versus Undisputed Era in the Dusty Rhodes Classic though. Like if we're trying to make that tournament mean something, I felt like it needed to have legitimate tag teams in it, and the Broserweights.
They're not a legitimate.
They got put together, and this happened last year though too. Because last year they did Aleister Black and Ricochet, and they won it. And so like they're putting these like I almost say you have to give it to the young grizzled veterans because at least they're a tag team. But I have a huge feeling that it's gonna be Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne that win that because they're the more over people.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea of just the whole hot-shotting tag teams together, much less hot-shotting a tag title on a team that's not really a team. I'm not going to throw Omega and Page into that category just because they're part of the elite, so technically, whatever. But to your point, they've just thrown together Riddle and Dunn, and it's just like, okay.
Well, there were several teams like that. I mean, like if you look at the actual card, like Kushida and Shelley, even though they had a pass together.
Well, see, I wouldn't group them in that because they've tagged before. I'm talking about
you just throw like that. You didn't build them up in NXT as a tag team. You just brought him in and said, hey, they had a past. Like for the person who doesn't know who Alex Shelley is, for the person who barely knows who Kushida is, like that to me was a silly move. And they're just putting, those kind of teams together and then pushing them. Like the Broserweights, like that kick, picked up whatever. It has a cool little twist to it, whatever. But
and part of the thing with NXT booking is just that, I mean, it's so over as a whole right now in terms of the overall product that they can just throw stuff like
they
together
can
like
get away
that.
with it. But my personal opinion is, we're gonna get Imperium versus Undisputed Era.
Well,
but now it's going to be
the takeover at the When Worlds Collide or whatever it's called.
Well,
UK,
right. This was the Dusty Rhodes Classic. That's what I'm saying. Like we're still going to get it, but it would have been more interesting to see it.
But this is a way to do a 4 versus 4.
Yeah, but they could have broken it up and done Walter versus Adam Cole. They could have done one of them versus Roderick Strong, and then did the tag team. There was things they could have done, but. It was cool. It was a good match.
All right, so I'm just gonna kind of jump ahead a little bit. So there was the Tony Storm Io Shirai match. Shirai gets the win by DQ because Bianca Belair comes out.
That was pretty much just a spot fest too.
Yeah.
That was just all trying to get all the girls in on one segment.
Yeah. So then you had Finn Balor, Joaquin Wilde. Balor gets the win. Not really a surprise there. I want to touch on this real quick. So you had the Baszler Blackheart match. Not necessarily the match itself because Baszler went over, but kind of tying back into the women's division as a whole with NXT. So I actually just pulled this up. This was released just this morning. I don't know when, but WWE NXT Women's title to no longer have a gender-specific designation.
See? Most inclusive brand, NXT.
The WWE NXT Women's title will now be known as the NXT title moving forward, according to PW Insider. WWE officials have reportedly issued an internal decree that the title will no longer have a gender-specific designation moving forward.
No, I don't believe it. I'm going to refuse to believe this.
So
it makes no.
So
go away.
If they're going to refer to it as the NXT title, then what are you going to call what Adam Cole has?
The NXT World title. No, I mean like
I don't.
What about how many different women's titles do they have in the company right now? They have
3.
that. They have
and then the tag belts. So technically 4.
in NXT.
In NXT, you just have the one, right?
No, because they have don't they have the European champion or the UK champion?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they have the
Yeah,
UK
they have 5.
women's
They're
and
5.
That'll never happen in WWE. I don't see that happening. I don't know how you get away with it there. I by doing so, there has to be a reason why.
I don't know how you get away with it, again, from the standpoint of, okay, if it's just going to be referred to as the NXT title, then, and maybe I'm missing something, but then what are you going to refer to Adam Cole's title as?
Yeah, William's saying, they don't do intergender wrestling, so in WWE. So like that, and that's a good point. Like we don't have like a Sunny Kiss or somebody sitting there getting mad because they can't get a title shot in either.
And they never will. They'll never cross that path.
Right. The only reason I can see it is there was a lawsuit that we don't know about of a wrestler who identifies in a certain way that was mad about how they
don't even
got
let
treated.
the one lesbian that's out be in the lesbian storyline. I mean, like it's that's my
Sonnyville.
yeah. I mean, like it's entertainment. It's sports entertainment. This is not real. I mean, and I don't even know what to say to it.
I don't know either.
And
I just, like I said, I pulled
I'm
it up.
very liberal. Like it's not I'm not this big right wing. I don't have any of these religious beliefs or any stand. It's none of that. But what's the UFC do? What's boxing do? Like your combat-ish sports or whatever you want to compare. Like WWE is most like UFC with the belt structure. Boxing with the belt structure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You have genders and you have weight divisions.
Yes. Period. The Olympics.
Yep.
It's as old as time. I mean, I don't understand. Wrestling. Your old school amateur wrestling in the Olympics.
And I think maybe the way they could, I guess, pigeonhole their way into the fact that, hey, we're just going to combine them is the fact that it's predetermined. The whole like the stigma of competitive advantage because it's predetermined. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but I agree. I think they just need to have. You have men's titles. You have women's titles. I'd even be a fan of going more in terms of weight classes. Now, I'm not saying having 10 different weight classes where one weight class is 195 to 200 and one weight class is 250 to 260. I'm not saying that, but maybe have like a, you've got your cruiserweights, which fine, whatever. But if they were to go that route, not to get off on a tangent, but if you're going to go that route, build them equally because more than likely your 205 live guys, they're the ones that are putting on the best matches right now, but no one watches the product.
You pigeonhole them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
But
I don't get it.
all right, so anyway, I just wanted to touch on that. So then you had the Broserweights Imperium.
But don't you think if they're going to do that, does that not lead to mixed gender match?
I don't know.
Well, do you think they're doing that due to the Tessa Blanchard championship win in that division? Do you feel like they're like, oh, we saw that as?
I think they're distancing themselves anything related to Tessa Blanchard.
Which is why I find this move surprising because it almost brings more attention to it.
Right.
I don't know.
So anyway, the Broserweights and Imperium match. You've already said Broserweights.
They won that clean. I was shocked. I thought
win.
for sure Undisputed Era would have came out and returned the favor, kind of distracted them and interfere. But honestly, I was just shocked to go over clean.
Who's while we're talking about NXT, I want to see what you guys think because I think it's who do you think's the next guy to get called up to the main roster?
I mean, to me, it's got to be Undisputed Era as a whole.
You think the whole so I think part of this is the Broserweights lose next night. Riddle. I think Riddle's going to be one of the guys that comes Monday night.
It's rumored. I know for a fact that Matt Riddle is rumored to do that. I'm interested to see where Velveteen Dream's at and all that too.
They're starting to drop the belts. The guys at Undisputed Era.
I could see them as well moving up and doing like a takeover kind of dynamic in one of the promotions. Some of those guys are happy to be there though, so I don't know.
I wouldn't leave.
If
I'm the Undisputed Era, I wouldn't leave. Riddle, I think, can get over on the main roster. I think he kind of has a gimmick that they can work with and do something with. But if you put the Undisputed Era on the main roster with some of those guys, although they're in the ring with Keith Lee and some of those guys, but there's just some guys they get in there with, and it's just like, oh.
Adam Cole put on some good matches when he was in that Survivor Series kind of setup where they were pushing. They had good matchups for him, but you can't put him against a Brock Lesnar. You can't put him against.
You've got to go like Daniel Bryan. Yeah, you book him like Balor almost.
Yeah.
You do something.
Well, the problem is they didn't book Balor very well on the main roster.
They did it first,
and that's where I'm almost to the point where I say don't call up anyone.
I'm with you there,
and utilize the people like Aleister Black is in these crap storylines, and he's over. And he's over. Yep. Ricochet is in these crap storylines, and he's over.
They're still talking about Aleister Black having a huge role. I mean, and we're gonna find.
Is it a slow build? I mean,
they're saying he could be Lesnar's. I've read that he could be Brock's opponent at WrestleMania.
He's
I've
in
read
that.
A bunch of different
We'll
stuff.
talk Royal Rumble in a second. He would be a sleeper, but
I agree. As far as the call ups, I think if you're going to do it, well, first off, I'll preface by saying I don't think anybody should go anywhere. I don't think they should even do it I don't think they should even phrase it as call-ups anymore, because their product is the best that WWE has right now. So
Demotion.
but pretty much. But well, I mean,
Demoted to Monday night.
promotion in terms of just money. I mean, they'll get paid heftier. But if they're going to do it, I can only see 3 people at best successfully making that transition. I think it would be Matt Riddle. I agree with you there. I think it would be Adam Cole. I agree there. I think Keith Lee could make this change. But I think those are the only 3 that they have right now that would make a good transition, that they wouldn't be put in stupid storylines, that they wouldn't get lost in the mix, et cetera, et cetera. So
William says Velveteen Dream gets the call up once recovered. Mark says first NXT is the main roster. Second, if Undisputed Era leaves NXT, it would leave a big hole in the roster and in storylines.
agreed. 100% agree.
I mean, you have to have somebody, unless you're going to move Imperium over to NXT and get them out of UK, you got to have somebody who steps in. And
I don't see them being able to carry a show.
That's a whole nother topic in itself, is NXT UK. As much as they do put on good matches, I think it's just overkill. I think that they just need to dissolve UK. I think they need to just bring what talent they think would make it to regular NXT. I get that McMahon's on this kick about wanting to take over foreign wrestling and wanting all these, NXT Japan and all this stuff.
I'm at the point like, why don't we have an NXT Japan? But how many Japanese stars and
they won't. I mean, that's the one place they've had trouble going and buying the indies. I mean, they went up and just bought federation after federation in the UK, and that's the one place to where people are just like, nah, we're good.
Yeah,
we're good.
Right.
All right, so pressing along real quick. All right, just spend a little bit of time on this. Keith Lee, Roderick Strong, NXT North American title match.
Bask in his glory.
I actually thought about putting the little soundbite on here, and I just getting ready, I totally forgot to do it. But overall, I mean, I thought it was an okay match, but because it was just okay, it kind of left me, I don't know, a little disappointed in the fact that, I'm used to the classic NXT match where it's a slow build throughout the match, and then you have these near fall after near fall, spot after spot, finisher after finisher. And I mean, there wasn't really any of that. They had a couple spots where you could tell that it was kind of awkward. The little Olympic slam from the top that, like, Keith Lee's leg placement or whatever kind of made it awkward. Just little things like that. I mean, made it not...
I felt like Roderick Strong missed some spots. I feel like he looked a step like Keith Lee went to do that power tackle launch or whatever, and
to propel him over the ropes, and he got caught. Yeah, I agree. It was little things like that. And Roderick Strong, to his credit, he's a good in-ring talent. He has great in-ring ability. Well, I'll say very good. I don't know about great, but he tends to botch a lot of things.
Yeah,
he has a history of that even before he came to WWE. I have no room to talk because I'm not a pro wrestler. I can't pro wrestle, or I can't wrestle. I can't amateur wrestle for what it's worth. So I have no room to say anything about anyone's ability. And it's just one of those things. I've read that he's had a history of botching things, not in terms of hurting other wrestlers, but just botching spots is a better way to put it.
Right.
But Keith Lee gets the win.
I love it.
He's the champion. I think it's a good move to put the belt on him. I don't know about just doing it on an NXT show. Maybe it was done in spite of the fact that they knew that AEW was going to have their title change, so they had to do one of their own. I don't know. But ultimately, if they're wanting to push Keith Lee, and this will be kind of our segue to the Royal Rumble, we'll get to that in a second. But if they're going to push Keith Lee, I say, maybe not have him win the Rumble, but be the guy to eliminate Brock Lesnar.
Potentially. The other thing I would say about this is, if you notice, Ricochet held the North America title for like 1 month. It was very short, and then he got a call up like a month or two later.
Yeah.
So I really just feel like this was their way of saying, okay, we're going to get him some exposure. We're We're gonna put a belt on them real quick, and then we're gonna get them ready to go.
Yeah, potentially. I would not be surprised in the least if they went that route. But
he's someone you can put on SmackDown and actually give a push. SmackDown I've told you last show, SmackDown to me is stale. So I feel like you got to
put him and Big E on the same show.
See, that's a good point, and that's not something I thought about. I would want to put him on SmackDown just because of the fact that I wouldn't want to see him. I feel like
he'd be lost in the mix on Raw.
Well, I feel like with Raw, as bad as SmackDown has been lately, I just feel like Raw is that much worse in terms of just booking. Now, I get that Paul Heyman is supposed to be in charge behind the scenes. Raw looks like it's kind of going in the right direction, maybe a little more slowly than some would like, but I kind of like what they're doing with the Rollins stable, and it seems like they might be going in a good storyline direction there, but I don't know. That remains to be seen. If they bring him up, I still say put him on SmackDown, even though, I mean, Big E is kind of the same body type, the same power move set, but
he's just stuck in tag team though. Keith Lee doesn't have a tag team.
But I think to T.O.'s point, at least this is my thought process, is there's been talk for better part of a year that they want to give Big E a singles run.
Which they could potentially do, still being in a tag team. They successfully did it with Kofi.
They do it out of that, though. They dropped the ball there. And I think a lot of it was Big E got hurt, I believe. They should have, and they were teasing it, Big E turning on Kofi.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything happened.
They also don't want to lose New Day because their merch is insane. Mm-hmm. Their show is their podcast is huge. They're kind of stuck in that we're always going to be a face mentality right now with them.
And you can't have Big E turn and then insert other big African American. I mean, you just, that's stereotypical and would look awful, which they might actually try to do now that I think about it being WWE. They could say, oh, well, we'll move Big E out and move Keith Lee right in, and
Keith Lee joins the New Day. No,
nobody will see a difference.
That's funny.
He's big. He's strong. He's the muscle.
Are you trying to do a McMahon thing there, just without the he's strong, he's muscle, he's Keith Lee?
I mean, you nailed it. It's just, I don't know.
But all right, so we'll talk about the Rumble in just a second. I just want to talk about our show and our app real quick. So you can check out the Going Broadway podcast with new shows every week on Apple Podcasts and Google Play, as well as a number of other platforms where you can access your podcasting. For those of you watching us live right now, each show is archived, and you can go back and watch any one of them on Facebook or via our YouTube channel as well. Go to goingbroadwaypodcast.com/YouTube and check us out. Please also download our free app called Yo Radio. It can be downloaded through the App Store or Google Play. Yo Radio is the most advanced user-driven streaming radio service on the market. Everything you would expect and more from the most full-featured platforms ever developed. Listen to an endless genre of music, podcasts, including our show via the Lineup channel, sports, news, and more 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's always 100% free. Again, that's Yo Radio, available via the App Store, Google Play, or by visiting yoradio.com. I also failed to mention that you can also check out our podcast now via our lineupmedia.fm website. So, and just real quick, thanks to everyone that is watching us currently. Thanks to everyone that will be listening to us later. Please check out our Facebook page, like our page. We'll be doing another set of giveaways once we hit 500 likes. Be giving away some free t-shirts. We're also going to be giving away that championship belt at 1,000 likes. I posted a separate video with that belt, so go check that out. All right, Rumble time. So the Rumble is this Sunday. Cole, you have to work. Bummer.
I will be watching it. All right. I just won't be watching it with you like I had planned.
So all right, let's just run down the card real quick. We'll do some predictions. We'll just give our overall thoughts for those of you on the stream right now. Feel free to pipe in with your thoughts, comments, spoilers, predictions, questions,
Okay.
criticisms.
I have the latest odds pulled up.
Okay.
So let's play a game real quick.
All right.
Oh no. Oh no.
Okay.
I
We're
don't
just going
wanna-
to go with the top 5 odds right now.
Okay.
Go. We'll start with you, Alex.
Oh, we're
I know
straight,
one of them.
straight for the Rumble match is what you're saying.
Yep, to
All right.
win.
Can we save that? Because I want to start like the bottom of the card and then work our way up to the actual Rumble.
I don't
matches.
even care about anything else on that card. But
I don't
let's go
either.
ahead.
But I don't either. That's why I'm just gonna briefly go through this part. So, all right,
do it.
we're just gonna rapid fire this. So, U.S. title match: Andrade and Carrillo or Humberto.
Andrade.
I agree. I mean, that's pretty much a given. You don't put the belt on him in a house show to.
I think she's going to – I actually disagree. I think that what's her name is going to turn. There's been some
Zelina?
weird, I think there's been weird little things going on off and on.
I think it happens eventually. I don't think it happens at the Rumble.
Yeah, I'm not
I can
against
see it
him.
happening there.
Not against him.
Bailey and Lacey Evans. I've got Lacey Evans winning the title.
I think so. Bailey's stale.
If you guys feel lucky and really have true conviction to that, you could get a little 2 1/4 on that.
Well, here's why. So it's not just because Bailey is stale, but I think she is. Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear
Yeah,
you
you're-
great.
I feel like my microphone's really bassy. I feel like that they need to put the belt on Lacey Evans so she can work a program with Sasha Banks, but then have them two and throw in Bailey. Then you start to build towards a Bailey-Sasha feud to WrestleMania. But then you also keep the belt on Lacey and then have her do a program for Mania with whoever.
You could see Shayna Baszler show up here very soon.
Well, I was going to bring up 3 points. Whether you bring up Baszler, whether you have her face the winner of the Rumble, the women's Rumble match, what other women are on the SmackDown roster? I'm having a brain lapse right now.
Carmella's still there, right?
No.
They also could tease a Naomi comeback too.
And I'm getting there. That's who I was trying to think of. So Naomi's supposed to come back to the Rumble, allegedly, or at least she's scheduled to be in Houston. I don't know if you have her win the Rumble match though, but
If you bet $100 on that, you could win $6,600 right now.
He's all about it. But it's funny. There's only like 5 or 6 women confirmed for the Royal Rumble match as of right now. So there's a lot of like people like Nia Jax could show up.
oh jeez,
Tamina. I mean, like William just said it. Nia Jax returns. I mean, there's so many people that are not.
There's one person winning the Royal Rumble for the
Ronda
the
Rousey?
females. Shayna Baszler.
Shayna
That's
Baszler.
it.
Yeah,
That's it.
All right, so
makes sense.
And then she goes to SmackDown, and I think that's where you.
Lacey Evans versus Shayna.
I think they do Bailey unless there's a Bailey and Sasha
split.
split.
Yeah.
all right, so Sheamus and Shorty G. I think that's
Okay.
That's a pre-show kind of thing.
I was about
That's
to
not
say-
even a.
That's a no-show kind of
if
thing.
they
Sheamus will win.
Yeah.
they're building Sheamus. So
if they have Shorty G win that would be like the shock of.
and a roll up.
Can they both just go away? I mean, I Sheamus, seriously, I thought
Yeah.
your back was broke and your neck. I mean, go leave.
All right,
Shorty G. I mean, this guy was an Olympic caliber wrestler.
Yeah,
Let's put him in basketball shorts. That makes sense.
he either needs to leave.
And give him like the worst name possible.
And apparently, it was his idea.
Yeah.
Call me Shorty G.
They need. He either needs to go to AEW on his contract, or better yet, just start doing independent wrestling. I bet he could make a ton more money.
Go
If he-
coach collegiate wrestling.
Well, if money is what he's going for, and he wants to keep this Shorty G gimmick, he could probably make more on the independent scene than he is with WWE.
If you're gonna be Shorty G, you got to be like a rapper though. Like you got to be like a cheesy bad like Shorty G is a terrible name to give to some guy running around playing an Olympic gimmick.
I agree.
And they give him the last name Gable. I mean, that's a legendary amateur wrestling name. That I mean, you could have went the Kurt Angle route, and they really blew that up. And I think a lot of that with Jason Jordan getting hurt, wasn't that his name, Jason Jordan?
Yeah.
But
All right. So Roman Reigns, King Corbin, Falls Count Anywhere.
Roman Reigns.
he has to get his.
He's not losing on a pay-per-view.
Reigns isn't losing if they're wanting to build him towards Mania. Like I'm still reading as recently as yesterday that they're wanting to give him a title shot at Mania.
Of course, and that's where Bray's gonna lose it.
Becky Lynch and Asuka.
I'm torn on that one.
I'm
gonna say Becky.
I say Becky also. I don't think you put 2 belts on Asuka. I think that
Asuka 2 belts.
No, I think that you have Becky keep it, and ultimately I think
she'll lose it at Mania.
I think. So I'm going to tie the Women's Rumble into this a little bit. I agree that I think Shayna shows up the Rumble. She challenges for the SmackDown title at Mania.
It's gonna be Ronda Rousey.
I think Becky and Ronda Rousey is
At
what you're
Mania.
going to have at Mania. You're going to have a rematch of
1-on-1.
Oh, that's right, because Charlotte was in it last year.
Unless they try to find a way to sneak her back in
They
there.
they have to do something to raise. I mean, Becky has no steam, no momentum.
She's gotten stale.
Well, Ronda's supposed to show up in the Rumble. I don't think she wins it, but
I don't think she'll show
that'll
up.
that'll tease the storyline.
I think she'll show up like the next night on Raw or something like that, or she'll show up at the Royal Rumble but not in the match.
Is this the time for them to do the Horsewoman? I mean, because how many more Rumbles is Rousey?
I agree.
I mean, how many more Manias is Rousey around? We know she wants to have a kid. That some athletes never bounce back from.
Or even WrestleMania aside, let's say you want to do it at a Survivor Series. How many more chances are you going to have to do it? I mean, especially if you bring Baszler up, you could bring
You bring them
Shafir
up,
and Duke with them.
They could show up later. Like
they
call her
absolutely
girls up when it's time, and
Yeah, absolutely.
But what better way to build that match in the Rumble to where there's 8 people left and it's those 4?
You can tease it, but they started teasing it at the Rumble last year, and then they didn't do anything with it because Rousey left. So, all right. So we've got Fiend and Daniel Bryan. I think the Fiend wins, keeps the belt. Whatever happens with Daniel Bryan going forward, I don't know, but that's not what we're talking about. Okay, so let's do the Women's Rumble match first, since we've kind of touched on it a little bit already. And if you guys are watching on the stream right now, tell us what you think. Who is Tim Purnell?
he's a buddy of mine.
Okay.
He's dumb. I'm sorry.
All right. So if you're on the stream right now, tell us your thoughts, your predictions. We'll read some of them. Let's do the women's match first. So ultimately, I mean, I've already said mine. I think that Shayna shows up the Rumble. I mean, whether it's what spot she comes in is irrelevant, but I think she wins it, and then I think she challenges for the SmackDown belt. What do you guys think?
The only confirmed women in that match right now are Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Sarah Logan, and Natalya. So there's so much room in this. There's just so many people that could be in that match. You just don't know. They're rumored as Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, Rhea Ripley, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Sasha Banks, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville. But I think it's Shayna Baszler's to win.
There's really 3 people based off the odds.
Shayna Baszler. To me, it's Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey, or Charlotte Flair.
Those are the 3 that have everything else is long shots.
I mean, I could see Sasha Banks from the standpoint of a Bayley retains, and she wins it, and then she challenges Bayley. Like, that's the way you could get that storyline to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to have Sasha Banks win your Rumble.
You say that, but at the same time, you do if you want to break Bayley and Sasha.
Who won last year?
Becky Lynch.
Becky won last
She
year.
lost the belt and then went and got into the Rumble.
Well, she didn't have the belt. She just lost the title match with Asuka in
Yeah.
last year's Rumble.
And then
Because Asuka was champion at the time.
Correct. Yes. Sorry.
And then, of course, you had Asuka lose it to Charlotte and had the 2 belts gimmick. So, okay. So, I say Baszler. You say Baszler.
I'm saying Baszler.
Do you guys agree? Yeah, I go with Baszler too. Do you
Okay.
agree though that Seth Rollins killed, like when they inserted Seth with Becky, that killed a lot of her
I
momentum?
think it killed both of them.
Yeah.
I think
I think it hurt both of them.
I'm not sure that putting them together necessarily did anything to hurt or help them. I think just coincidentally around the time that both, like, by putting them together, people realized that, it's like you put one stale person with another, and then it's like, oh wow, this is like they're really like not as cool as they used to be, or however you want to phrase it.
I think they felt the need to just bring it up because now they're engaged.
Oh, they are?
That's what I read.
Good
Yeah.
for them.
So
Good for them.
Sure, it'll end well.
Well,
I thought he had a thing for Nazis.
wow.
The
Yeah.
one that was down in developmental. That
at first I didn't know what you're talking about, but then okay. All right, so then we go to the men's Rumble match. This is by far, in my opinion at least, the match that has the most intrigue on the card. And usually at the Royal Rumble match is the one that has the most intrigue because there's so many different ways to you could go about it. So, I'm looking online too. Tio, you can tell me if yours shows anything different. I'm showing that Roman Reigns has the best odds to win.
Which is funny because as of right now, he's not even in the match.
Well, yeah.
There's only as of now because we talked about this last show. Kofi wasn't even in the match, and now him and Big E are, and so now there's only 5 slots that are not.
Yeah, so Roman, it's not even money. You're paying juice. He's at minus 110.
Yeah,
I'm looking at. I read that CM Punk's up there. He's like number 2, I think.
He's 4. He's 4 now plus 600.
And we don't even know if he's in it. I also am reading John Cena. Yeah,
Please.
for a WrestleMania storyline.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These aren't numbered. 11, 12, 13, 14th. Cena is 14th at plus 2,500.
Let me ask this: do you have Edge on there anywhere?
He is at
12.
7th.
Yeah, plus 12. We're looking at the same thing. Why is Brock Lesnar even in the match?
I don't know.
That's to set up a story. So here's my thing. This is what I was thinking.
Whoever
wins the Royal Rumble is going to be challenging the SmackDown belt.
Bray.
It's going to be. So my thought process is that he's in the Royal Rumble to set up whatever storyline is going to be his WrestleMania opponent. Yeah, I've read that Cain Velasquez might come out.
Yeah.
And eliminate him, which sets up the Cain Velasquez versus
the match everyone's wanting to see.
Brock Lesnar.
The match that no one wants to see.
That's what I meant.
That's my thoughts. So there could be that. CM Punk could come out and not win it, and he eliminates Brock Lesnar, though, and then sets up a CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar. There's a lot of... You also got to remember there's guys in the actual Rumble confirmed that could also be... Cain Velasquez is considered confirmed by this thing I'm reading.
Okay, so let's tackle this from 2 angles. I think what you're saying, Cole, is at least what I'm thinking. I don't know if Tio was thinking the same thing, but my thought process is, yes, the person that wins this Rumble is going to challenge for the SmackDown title, and whoever eliminates Brock from this Rumble will not win, but will get the title shot at Mania. So let's look at this from 2 perspectives. Number 1, who do you think actually wins the match? No. Let's go the other way around. Let's say, who do you think eliminates Lesnar? And
Drew McIntyre.
You think Lesnar eliminates
Drew McIntyre or Cain Velasquez is the 2 I'm looking at.
I agree. I'm gonna add Aleister Black just because Heyman is so big on him. I could see Heyman, that being a Heyman guy, to where there's some type of, he turns on him, some storyline that way.
Right.
They've got to freshen that up. But Brock can't speak for himself. So again, what do you do if
You've noticed the promos on Raw though? Like the past 2 weeks, he demolishes somebody, and then he gets on the mic and he goes, "Not true, not scared."
Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing I was going to mention too is I think it was the promo from this past week. Is this could have been dropping a hint, sort of, but Heyman said something along the lines of, there's not one contracted person with WWE that can beat my client," or something like that. Mm-hmm. So do you think that that's just playing into the rumors and that nothing's going to come of it? Do you think that it could be CM Punk? Because he's the only person I can think of as far as a non-contracted.
What's he do? That's interesting because what's Paul Heyman do? I mean, Punk doesn't need the mouthpiece, but he was always, that. There you go.
All right, so here's my thought process, and I'm probably going to be wrong, which is fine. I think I think McIntyre actually wins the Rumble. Now, that kind of puts it in an odd spot because which belt do you think let's say he does win. What belt do you think he challenges for?
I just don't see them cross contaminating the shows like that. So if Drew wins, he challenges Brock.
Okay. So do you think in that scenario that he's also the one that eliminates Brock? Do you
that
think
means
he gets
Roman goes after Wyatt?
Which would exactly,
Which
and
is
that's
a storyline that has to be set up organically in another way.
okay. So let's look at it from this perspective.
WrestleMania for a belt again.
You could you could have
He's gonna win it.
you could have Bray in the Rumble, but you could have him as Bray Wyatt, not as the Fiend. Have Roman eliminate him and then go that route.
Yeah, it's a wasted of their 5 spots that they haven't announced. I mean, they have people rumored to come out, and it's looking like Hulk Hogan's cleared to wrestle again, and I feel like they're going to bring him out just for the nostalgic pop that they feel like they're going to get
At the
from
Rumble?
it. Yeah.
Really?
I'd love to see him go over the rope. Man.
Legitimately, though, like he posted it. He's been working out. You follow him on social media.
That's fine, but I agree with T.
I've also read Shawn Michaels is supposed to come out for a nostalgic pop. You got to understand, there's no NXT
I could
guys.
see Michaels because it's Texas. That makes more sense. I could see Undertaker because it's Texas.
Now, is the Boogeyman from Texas?
I don't know, but
Because I'm also reading the Boogeyman's supposed to come out.
is this a 60-person Royal Rumble?
No, that's my point.
Yeah.
Is that I have 5 people that are rumored to come out, and none of them are NXT guys. None of them are. They're all people that are either could win off of like I said, like a John Cena who's coming back just to get that storyline, to win his last title that he needs to.
Okay, real quick. So
Retire.
I'm looking at these odds, and I see that you've got these odds are fantastic. You've got Antonio Brown at plus 10,000, Big Show plus 10,000, Conor McGregor plus 10,000. You got Hogan on here at plus 10,000. You've got Stone Cold at plus 10,000, Shawn Michaels at plus 10,000. Then you have Logan Paul. Who's Logan Paul?
He's YouTube,
Someone help me out with that.
Netflix.
YouTube kid.
He's got some Netflix stuff too, I think.
So he's a kid.
He's an adult. He was on like a Law and Order as like a.
So what tie does he have into
He just did a
professional
box.
wrestling?
He's done
just-
2 boxing matches that
Oh,
they've
okay.
made millions of dollars on, but it was him boxing another YouTube guy.
Oh,
So he's
Great.
the one that did.
He
the,
would get destroyed. He's like the body type of me. Like he's
he's a jacked up kid.
I mean, he's ripped, but I'm saying like he's not big. He's not big enough to be a wrestler.
Hold
Okay.
on. I'm gonna look up how the. I think I don't know why. I thought he was a big kid. Like I thought because he wrestled in high school.
Well,
I could be wrong. on
while you're
this.
doing
I'm gonna
that,
look here.
so I'm just gonna go up this list real quick. So you've got Undertaker, Triple H, and Goldberg at plus 6,600. You've got Walter, Velveteen Dream, Rey Mysterio, Ali, Gargano, Humberto,
Ali's not even
Eric-
confirmed for the match.
Eric Rowan, Elias.
He's 6'2",
But-
195 pounds. So I mean, he's
Not bad.
decent.
Buddy Murphy, all of those at plus 5,000. There's one other name at plus 5,000 for the men's Rumble. Becky Lynch.
Wow. Oh, he looks a lot different though.
Becky Lynch at plus 5,000 for the men's Rumble.
That's funny. But man,
But that brings intrigue to that, though. Do they do that?
Oh, God.
I mean, I
they've
hope
done
not.
it before.
They
They've
did
had
it last
women
year.
enter the Rumble.
Nia did it last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Okay.
Is she the one to eliminate Brock Lesnar? No, I'm just kidding.
Jeez.
Like, how bad would that be?
What would their viewership do if that happened?
Or have Becky Lynch eliminate him?
I just hope they. Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So
The Rumbles I mean, when's the last time the Rumble hasn't let you down? I mean, because this is usually.
the last time it hasn't?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I actually was okay with Seth winning it last year, so I wasn't too disappointed.
I just meant from like a surprise standpoint, and I feel like they've gotten away from what made the Rumble special.
I got to
So
look
my
real
point,
quick.
my question would be: who do you need to be a surprise? Because now with 3 shows, like it's gonna be hard to surprise you. You know, like it's gonna be hard to surprise you.
So from a Royal Rumble match standpoint, the last time it didn't disappoint. Let me go. I'm still going back. I'm at 2016 right now. I'm just looking. There's one year I'm thinking in particular that was fairly recent. It was a time whenever I was not actively watching wrestling, but I went back and watched the match. And I was like, oh, that was actually really good. I wanted to say it was 2012, but I'm still going
Like
back.
the Rumble, it used to be where they introduced some of their new stars, or where like
Yep.
it was someone you didn't know was on the roster, or it was a return, like someone who's been gone for 8 months and just came back. Like there was shock and awe to it. But now with so many people on your roster between 3 shows, you might be shocked that an NXT guy is in the match, but it's not the same pop as if,
Yep.
CM Punk comes out, Sunday night.
right.
Where he's not even, we don't even know if he's signed a we don't know where he's at. It's not the same pop if The Rock shows up and he's in the middle of shooting Fast and Furious 47.
So, here's my question with the way WWE works right now. What's in it for them for surprises? What do you waste the surprise of CM Punk coming out on the Royal Rumble instead of promoting the match for WrestleMania to drive up subscriptions? How many more subscriptions does it get if you know he's making his return in advance versus...
That's 2 months away, though. If he comes back at Rumble, it's plenty of time to get subscriptions.
I know, but you're plenty of time, but you could have said you could have built the comeback. He's entering the Royal Rumble. Think about how much money they'd be losing that they could generate by promoting him being in the match.
I think they're expecting more of a pop because he's in the match, especially if he does anything significant like eliminating Brock Lesnar or, in fact, winning the actual Royal Rumble. I think they're looking for that media pop because media wants CM Punk in wrestling. Whether it's AEW, whether it's WWE, whether if he even goes to Impact or ROH, media, wrestling fans want CM Punk in wrestling. And so obviously my thoughts is he goes WWE because he's on backstage and, all that stuff connects him to that. And if he's getting a huge payday out of it, why not? Especially if they're willing to put the belt on him or give him any kind of significant storyline.
And you know him as more. I mean, the guy, he has his morals, he has his beliefs. He's already said he won't take blood money. He won't go to Saudi Arabia. So he's not one of these guys like Hogan. I'm pretty sure Hogan will wrestle anywhere, but Hogan will go to Saudi Arabia and do a show there. There's not a chance CM Punk does.
No.
So
but
it's
he's
a
in a position to say, I'm not doing that.
Is he?
He is. Oh, yeah.
100. No, I'm saying, yeah, I agree. He is. It's a mania or nothing with him.
Right.
I really believe that's what it is.
That's why I think Royal Rumble's the best place to introduce him. If you're going to bring him back,
Maybe just have him come on the ramp.
just
Some type of intrigue. He's not even in the match.
you could have him interrupt the if you wanted to put him against the Fiend, you could have him just interrupt the strap match at the end and have him come out or have him attack. I mean, there are other ways you can introduce those storylines. Yes, I'm just saying the most.
It's got to be him and Triple H.
I think Punk only comes back for a program either with Triple H or Lesnar.
You think?
I don't think any other scenario you could have it make sense.
That's believable. A guy that was a heavyweight champ in the UFC and a guy that got beat by a cameraman.
You're waving at
Bamp.
Oh.
In the UFC.
Yeah.
So. Probably best to stay away from any UFC storylines involving those two.
Yeah. By the way, to answer your question, 2007 is the last time the Royal Rumble didn't disappoint me.
Oh, wow. Gosh dang.
At least in terms of the surprises and intrigue and all that stuff. So,
Guys, I have to step out and take a call.
That's fine.
Neil's in.
That's fine. We're gonna wrap.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
We're gonna wrap it up. So, yeah, just tune in Sunday. We'll see what happens. I mean, just any show is gonna be intriguing. Any Royal Rumble show is gonna be intriguing. But, any final thoughts from you, sir?
I'm just looking at this list and it's just hard to even.
It's hard to wrap your mind around some of those numbers. I 100% agree.
I'm just looking at this list of the people in it, and this is a year that you could literally say it's anyone's Rumble, in the sense of they could push anybody they want. There's a lot of people that are over, that are ready, that could do it.
There's a lot of directions they could go for sure.
So I'm just interested to see what dynamics come from it, and especially those five spots that we don't know who's who in it. I'm interested to see who comes out and how they affect the Rumble.
Yep. All right, so we're going to wrap this up. So our next show and all of our shows going forward will be on Mondays and Thursdays, twice a week at 9 a.m. Central Time. So for those of you guys on the West Coast that check us out, you'll be able to do so during your morning commute or before you go into work, or who knows, maybe you have Mondays and Thursdays off. I don't know. But we'll be back here Monday. We'll talk more about the Rumble, the results. And let's see. Today is Thursday. I'm getting my days all mixed up. We might touch on SmackDown a little bit first because that's going to build to some degree towards the Rumble. But we'll talk SmackDown a little bit, and then we'll mostly talk the Royal Rumble. And who knows? We'll see. We might throw in another topic. I don't know. But for myself, Alex, for Cole, for Tio, who has already stepped out, until Monday.
And so, goodbye. Mwah. And good night. Bang!
This podcast was a presentation of lightupmedia.fm.
I feel like some of the audio was weird today. Maybe it was just my headphones.
I'm having to dispute money that was taken out of my account.
Uh-oh.
One of the places I used to go through, I'm trying to quit using them. It's called TuneCore, and that's what I go through to distribute all my music and stuff. Yeah. And I'm switching to a different company, but I was trying to let the stuff I paid for run out before I switched. Right. And I had a project that was up for renewal today, and I didn't want to renew it, so I never clicked the button to pay it, nothing. It auto-renewed it today. It took $50 out of my account that I didn't want taken out of my account. I didn't want to auto-renew it, but there's no way to take it off auto-renew. So, and the company I go through, they decide that they don't respond back to you for at least 2 days. I tried to go through my bank because it shows up pending on my account right now. I was like, can you guys cancel that? They're like, no, sorry, we can't. I went through PayPal, which is what they went through to take the payment. And PayPal's like, you can message the sender. And I was like, okay, well, I've already done that.